Have you ever seen such an arrogant car thief? A man in a black suit came to the parking lot after spotting a yellow sports car. He said nothing and began picking the lock with his skilled hands. However, he was quickly caught by the owner of the car as soon as he started his work. A regular thief would have been extremely frightened and would have fled immediately. But this thief was different. While the car owner was calling the police, he quietly approached and decapitated him. His movements were extremely swift, and it was a decisive blow. After that, with a cold expression, he took the car keys, got into the car, and drove away. This man's name is Luke, a professional assassin for Viper. His style of work is decisive, and his methods are extremely brutal and merciless. Even passers-by become silent, just hearing his name. This time, the mission the organization assigned to Luke was to deal with a recently released thief's den. However, before searching for the target, Luke decided to go to a bar for a drink. The owner here is a well-known informant in town. As he was chatting up a girl, he noticed Luke coming in. During the enjoyment, his smile vanished. It was clear how terrified he was, to the point that it makes one want to shrink back in fear. Fortunately, this time, Luke didn't come to take him out. This time, Luke came to demand weapons. He seems to have spared his life, but the deal with Luke is undoubtedly extremely tense. One small mistake will surely lead to death. After that, the bar owner hurriedly moved all his good weapons to the rooftop. He allowed Luke to appraise them. It was a small armory, where Luke could choose any weapon he wanted. In the end, Luke acquired 2 handguns with silencers. In addition, a Viper rifle and grenades. This time, Luke also wanted to take the bar owner's girlfriend. The bar owner hesitated a bit when he heard that, but seeing Luke's face growing colder, he no longer had the courage to make a mistake. The bar owner quickly pointed and tried to obey. For Luke. Hearing the moans from the room, the bar owner outside had no choice but to endure the pain in his heart. However, the 2 friends beside the bed seemed to empathize with his suffering as well. They asked Luke why he could bear to watch from outside, distorted in pain, knowing he was clearly seducing his girlfriend. It seems that the bar owner is a respectable man. He at least needs the courage to take a gun and kill Luke. After finishing listening, the bar owner hurriedly covered the mouths of these 2 friends. He said that Luke is the best assassin around. Everyone in this town knows that he is a destroyer. No one has ever been able to kill this assassin. Perhaps even God would fear this Luke. However, the 2 friends next to him did not believe what the bar owner said. They knew nothing about Luke. So the 2 claimed they would help the bar owner. If he couldn't do it, they would do it instead. Luke went outside once he was done with his business. Of course, his cold expression didn't change at all. However, the bar owner's girlfriend was nowhere to be found. The bar owner immediately raised his voice and asked Luke. Then Luke simply said that she had choked to death due to the earlier excitement. Just hearing that made anger swell up inside for his friend. The 2 friends immediately drew their guns and tried to kill Luke. As a result, Luke's gun moved faster than theirs. Soon, both of them were dead under the barrel of Luke's gun. The bar owner, just after his girlfriend choked to death, didn't want to endure any longer despite his fear. He quickly pulled the trigger. In the end, however, Luke was too good to be delayed. The bar owner also ended up dead under Luke's gun. Three large men in the bar were shot and killed by Luke. It was a bloody, terrifying scene. Meanwhile, Tris, Luke's target, had just been released and returned home immediately. The first thing he needed to do was go to his wife, Jenny. He hadn't been able to be close to his beloved wife for a long time. Then, Tris's little daughter, Enlu, appeared. Enlu had just been picked up by the babysitter. The family of 3 and their dog were finally reunited. Tris had been in prison for 2 years and owed a lot to his wife and daughter. He wanted to spend all his remaining time ensuring a future for his wife and child. Then Jenny also told Tris that Fed, the business owner, was ready to fund her classical work. If the pieces sold, they would be able to cover their family's expenses. Staring at his beloved wife's work at home, Tris didn't know how to have hope for the future thanks to his wife's art. This was because all the pieces looked like white walls that held no artistic value at all. Of course, Fed knew this, so why would he waste so much money? There is only one answer. Fed had been targeting Jenny for a long time. That's why he was willing to throw money at Jenny's worthless creations. But who would have thought that Jenny only loved Tris? She swore she would never betray her husband. Fred could only silently withdraw after that. Tris felt a great deal of guilt after realizing how much his wife had dedicated to their family. However, fortunately, he still had ties and rewards from before he went to prison. Tris then drove to his best friend Roy's shop and asked where the money from that year was. In fact, Tris and Roy had robbed an investment bank 2 years ago. At that time, Roy was in charge of financial supervision and was not caught. Meanwhile, Tris was a false brother and a man among men. Even if he had known, he would never have betrayed his younger brother Roy. He took all the blame alone and was sentenced to 2 years in the vault. It was clear that Roy was grateful to Tris for all of this. Thanks to Tris being in prison, he was able to enjoy freedom outside. Moreover, he boldly stated that if Tris wanted, he could even give his life back to him. Tris's parole officer Rack also visited at the entrance. Rack warned Tris that he was currently under the supervision of a monitoring device. It would be better not to cause any more problems. Judging by Rack's attitude, he seemed to hold quite a grudge against Tris. Perhaps Rack was truly dedicated to his profession, or he harbored some grudge against Tris while he was in prison. Immediately after, he began to look into Tris's situation, checking to ensure there were no illegal drugs before leaving. After Rack left, Roy took Tris to the basement. He opened the safe to find rolls of gold. In total, it was $600,000. Tris wants Roy to manage this money so he can start a new life with his wife and daughter. He now wishes to atone for his sins and make up for the absence of his previous wife and child. Meanwhile, Roy is considering using it for investments to make even more money. Since Tris has recently been released, Roy plans to invite friends to go to a bar and enjoy a more human life. However, Jenny's exhibition is also happening tonight. Afterward, Tris invited Roy to Jenny's exhibition. At the same time, Luke came out of the bar. He is staring intently at a new sports car, waiting for a red light on the roadside. Just like at the beginning of the movie, Luke kills the car's owner and boldly gets into the car, driving away. However, this car was so high-tech that a top assassin like him couldn't handle it. There were several levers under the steering wheel, and Luke didn't know which one was the gear lever. He had to try each one, which meant the car was thrashing around on the road. The car kept swaying up and down. By the time he got it moving, it had taken such a strange shape. Its oddness drew the attention of the police. The police later approached Luke's car and issued him a fine for illegal vehicle modifications. Luke pulled the lever again, and the car continued to sway on the road. The police also got caught under the car. Another officer saw this and immediately opened fire. It was like awakening the demon inside Luke. He drew his firearm and blew up the police car right there. After finishing the job, he started driving the wayward car to search for Tris's house. On the other side, Tris, Roy and Jenny are attending the exhibition. Tris's young daughter Enlu is still at home with Hobo. Many guests and politicians are also at the exhibition. However, they all struggle to understand the meaning of Jenny's works. Moreover, they feel that viewing these works is a waste of their time. Seeing her works criticized like that makes Jenny begin to feel bewildered and anxious. However, Tris is not worried about the future. This is because he will soon become wealthy again for $600,000. However, what Tris did not expect was for Rack to actually come to this exhibition. Meanwhile, Luke is surveying the area to find Tris's house. He reached the house, but it was Hobo who opened the door. He then lied, saying he was Tris's friend. Even if Hobo tried to stop him, he attempted to enter the house. He searched around to find Tris, but found no one. The parent next door said in fear that if Luke didn't stay outside, they would report him to the police. However, Luke is a ruthless man. Without saying anything, he walked straight over to the toddler's guardian. His little daughter Enlu heard the noise and came down from the house. She then witnessed this strange sight. After that, Hobo signaled the girl to hide quickly. Before leaving, Luke discovered that 2 electronic controllers were plugged into the TV. This meant someone else was inside the house. Therefore, he began to search the house thoroughly. Terrified, little Enlu escaped through the window in search of her parents. By the time Luke noticed, the girl had already run quite a distance away. No matter how many shots he fired, it was too late. Because of this new lead, he found something else just as he was about to leave. He accidentally discovered Jenny's exhibition invitation on the desk. Thus, he decided to head to the exhibition immediately. When Enlu rushed to the exhibition looking for her mother and told everything, Luke caught up with them. After identifying his target Tris, Luke grabbed a firearm. He then fired wildly. Fortunately, Roy pushed Tris against the front wall, managing to protect him. However, unfortunately, that brave action led to him being shot by Luke. Supporting live people in front of him, he opened fire on them in rapid succession. He stood resolutely before Tris's family car, armed with a gun. Inside the car, Jenny pressed the accelerator further out of fear. Then, Luke was seen leaping over the car's roof. By chance, Luke's firearm fell into Tris's hands. Along the way, Tris talked to Jenny about the $600,000. He told his wife to drive to Roy's shop and go down underground with the money. Who could have predicted that Jenny and their daughter were waiting in the car? Then, Luke appeared outside the car and Tris asked where he was. Their daughter Enlu hurried to hide underground to look for her father, but her mother Jenny was not so lucky. She was caught by Luke and forced to play the part of a heart, running underground as well. His mission was to attack Tris and seize the $600,000. So the moment he saw Tris down below, he immediately opened fire. Tris was hit by a bullet and fell to the ground. Fortunately, he had closed the vault door beforehand, protecting his little daughter. Luke then approached Tris, gun in hand, intending to fire several more shots. Just then Jenny shouted loudly to distract him. Fearing Jenny would escape and report him to the police, Luke chased after her. After all, Tris had been shot and fallen, so Jenny wouldn't know the terrain well here. As a result, she ran desperately but ultimately cornered herself against a dead end. Meanwhile, Luke was getting closer to her. Jenny quickly picked up a stone from the roadside and hid behind a rock. She planned to wait for Luke to get close and then knock him out like in the movies. She really did hold that stone and struck it against Luke's back. As Luke lay face down, she quickly fled. Returning to the other side of the basement, Tris woke up and touched his wound. However, there was no blood in that layered part. Still, he had to continue his act of dying. He painfully pulled the key from his coat pocket. In fact, this key had protected him from a fatal blow. However, that key was now deformed, and he could not open the safe. At that moment, he heard Jenny's voice from outside. Tris decided to save his wife first. Before leaving, he did not forget to warn Enlu inside. He told his daughter to stay calm, take deep breaths, and wait for her parents to come to her rescue. After that, Tris resolved to risk his life alongside a top assassin named Luke to save his wife. However, it was clear he was no match for Luke. Before he could even land a few hits, he fell to the ground. In that critical moment, Jack suddenly appeared and shot Luke twice. Luke, seeing the current situation, realized he could not escape. At that point, he took 2 grenades from his pocket. He was prepared to face death along with his enemies. Unfortunately, that grenade either malfunctioned or was a fake. As a result, only he exploded. Tris and his family managed to escape just in time and were safe. However, the $60,000 in cash was also destroyed. But thanks to the lost money, Jack lost the evidence to arrest Tris again. At the end of the movie, Tris used his previous lockpicking skills again to find a way to rescue his daughter Enlu. In the end, the three of them were reunited and began a new life. Since this assassination incident, Tris has been haunted by paranoia. He installed dozens of locks in front of Nochekob's house. The movie ends with this humorous lock. This is a crime action movie, but it has some humorous elements as well. True to the movie title, Lucky Day, Tris and his family are indeed lucky. However, unlike the assassin Luke from El Fashion, this is like a day of a comet in the spotlight. Well, today's movie ends here. Thank you for watching until the end, dear viewers. Let's meet again in more action films. So goodbye everyone.